Okay, guys, good morning. I think we can start. We just hit the 100 people mark. So we have 100 people on us in this webinar. This is great. And I'm very excited to welcome you guys all to the first release of our new exciting web client or web application framework. This is Magic XPA 4. And some of you may have seen a little bit of those things, but now we are really ready to rock. So let's see what we have for us today. I have Oded on the line with me. Hopefully you'll be able to stay all the session, but if not, be part of it. Oded Lavi used to be the VP of R&D in Magic, and now he's joined back to the delivery team, as we call it, and he's going to head the delivery team. We'll talk a little bit about that during the session. And myself, Yuval Lavi, VP of Technology and Innovation, and the one that is kind of responsible for what you're going to see and what we're delivering in a way of the vision. And of course, the real people that are responsible for that is our amazing R&D team. So we'll try to do a quick overview today and talk about the solution that we're offering, the idea behind it, and the vision going forward. We will not be satisfied with only PowerPoint, so we will always see a little bit of a live demo of things and go over a little bit of the code. We'll talk about the big challenge of migration. We'll talk a little bit about the business model and the training, and of course, we'll have a big session of Q&A, which I hope I'll manage to answer all your questions. So, the stars are all aligned. Really, the way we look at it and the way we see it now is everything is coming into place for us, Magic, to rock again and to really bring our philosophy, our paradigm, our methodology to the new era of the web. We've tried it in the past. Even 20 years ago, I don't know who of you remember, we had something that we called Web Online. The Web Online was actually amazing technology that you can just refresh part of your HTML and go to the server and not go and get a full page from the server. Nowadays, we call it single page application, and we'll talk a little bit more about it. But obviously, when Magic came out with it, we failed because technology wasn't good enough around us. Technology that we had to use wasn't good enough. And then we came with the browser client, which again was a great idea, amazing technology, but still we failed since we ended up working only in Internet Explorer of Microsoft. We had to have some code of .NET or whatever, and again, tons of limitation that we could not fulfill our vision. But nowadays, with JavaScript, with CSS, with HTML, with the Angular, with TypeScript, with the cloud and the speed of the internet, really we can combine Magic and Angular and get unlimited functionality, unlimited options, and really amazing technology and solutions that we can provide. Now, when we thought about this version, we put ourselves our goals for this version. I think the most important part was to be a native web application. And these three words has a lot behind them. The idea is that we're going to be a fully native web application and now an Angular application. That means that we are not going to have anything special, anything hidden, anything that is closing you from the world. Anything that you can do in an Angular application, you can do with the Magic Web Application Framework. The question is, if with the framework, you can do it much better and easier. And this is what we aim to give and to do. Okay, we can do something you still need to do basic Angular if you want to do, but the idea is to deliver full web application based on Angular technology in a very, very speedy way, but still nothing that will actually give you limitation. We will never limit you in anything. We will only extend your functionality and enhance your functionality inside your application. Another thing is that we can definitely see ourselves now standing in front line with everybody else. We are not catching up only, okay? We are jumping ahead. and we're standing on the front line with everybody else. We are running fast with the versions, we are running fast with technology, and you will see the things that we did, and we still have a lot to do, but it is amazing. We're going to support all the latest and greatest technology of the web. Again, anything that you can imagine can be done in an Angular application, you can implement inside the Magic Web application. We're going to be able to build responsive mobile application, tablet application, anything again that you can do, you'll be able to do with the Magic. And we're moving to an agile release cycles, especially for the client. And when I say agile, I definitely see ourselves bringing every 2 weeks on average a new version of our client, because changes, fixes, enhancement will come very, very fast. Also, for the server side and the runtime in the studio, we see ourselves delivering a lot of versions, and not only once every 3 months as we used to do. The version is coming soon. Actually, we were planning to launch it or put it on the website for download tonight, but we found out a few issues that we didn't want to release with, and we did a quick fix today, and we need to run another cycle of sanity test by QA, and it will be Sunday night Israel time on the website for download. But it is coming. It is right around the corner. Another thing that is important to understand is that as opposed to the past, when we released a new version, the previous version would come into a state of maintenance only. That means that we only did bug fixing. We did not implement new features or enhancement. Nowadays, we're going to keep on bringing new features into version 3. 3.3b is coming soon, and maybe 3.4, but version 3 is still alive. Okay, it's not only maintenance version. Now, why is it important? Because the release cycles of the two versions will be based on the focus of each version. So version 4 will be focused on releasing based on the customer and the functionality of the web client. Version 3 will be focused on online, RIA, etc., and all the other technology that we have. So if you are interested in web, definitely take version 4. If you want to go live, if you're still in production in version 3, there is no reason, and you shouldn't probably go to version 4, although it will work. But again, bug fixes will be on a tighter release schedule on version 3 for the other technology, and for the web client technology, we'll release on version 4. And then we'll focus on each version with whatever we need. Now, let's talk about where we're going forward. We're all talking about digital transformation, and digital transformation is some kind of an old statement with a new idea behind it. When we say digital transformation today, we're not talking about the fact that we're implementing computers into our business. Okay, the fact that my bank is using a computer doesn't relevant for the digital transformation. They've been doing it for the last 50 years. But the fact that I can do most of my business with my bank via my mobile phone, this is digital transformation. And this is what we're looking to provide you guys, to provide to your customers, to your end users. Okay, the idea is really to be able to do digital transformation for all the businesses around us, because this is the user experience that the end consumer is expecting to have. Now, when we started to look and we thought, okay, where are we going? What is in our future regarding Magic XPA and our platform of development? So one direction was the native direction, or the natural direction that a lot of other customers of Magic and a lot of developers of Magic have been taking towards the .NET platform. And we thought that we would go the same direction. But then we said, okay, before we go there, let's have another look, see what's happening in the world. And then we realized there is another new full world that we were not familiar with. And this is the JavaScript, Angular, TypeScript, Node.js, etc. And when we started to look into this world, we realized that really the other world is huge. If we look, for instance, on the NuGet repository, which is a repository for .NET code, there is up to today something like around 110,000 packages. When we look at the NPM repository, which the equivalent of Angular, JavaScript, Node.js repository, there is over 700,000 packages. When we look at the downloads over the last 10 years from NuGet, there was something like 8 billion. In NPM, there is on average 20 billion per month. Yeah, although the mechanism is a bit different, but the statement is clear. The statement is really Angular and TypeScript and Node.js and JavaScript. This is the world going forward. If we look at what happened in the world as far as new applications, I mean, there is hardly any new application that is being developed in a WinForm or in C# standards and stuff like that. Even WPF kind of left behind. We looked also at the trends of Stack Overflow, and we can see there the trends of questions around the .NET technology is going dramatically down, and question around Angular, Node.js, TypeScript, and all this world is going dramatically up. So we ended up selecting Angular as our future, as our way to go. Not only Angular, but the concept of a browser-based JavaScript technology. So what is Angular? Angular is actually a framework that set out to do what we always wanted to do, and in some places we even did it, and with some success. If we talk about our mobile technology, the idea was that we want to develop one application and deploy it on many different devices and platforms. And this is what actually Angular did. Angular came with an exciting and amazing technology that you can run application on any browser, on any device, if it's a desktop, if it's a mobile, if it's a tablet. You can also run it, by the way, on a desktop under WinForm technology as well. So we are seeing that this is catching up. Today, there is over 1 million developers in the community of Angular. Another thing that we find out that there is in the new world is what I mentioned before, a single page application, an SPA web application. Now, a single page application was a concept that invented a few years ago in order to give the business user in the web actually a smoother experience. But what does it mean? How a single page application is working? The client is sending a request to the HTTP server and getting back an index.html file. Now, this will be the first and only time that the client will get back an HTML file from the server, okay? From that moment, the client, the Angular framework, actually render the page, render the client side, and build everything that is being presented and all the logic that is running on the client. Okay, there is no page that being presented. There is only the first page that is coming, and from that moment, a single page application, everything is happening under the same envelope with one application. The only communication that there will be with the server, it will be JSON files that are fetching data and pushing back data to the server. Of course, with HTML5, you can also work on a local storage, where we do not support at the moment local storage in our version out of the box. But as I mentioned before, since we are not limiting you to anything, you can definitely work with local storage in your Angular application. Okay, again, we never limit you from doing anything that is a standard in Angular. Another thing that we looked at is, okay, what is the history of web development? When we look what happened over the years in web development, we see that when we started developing the web application, we saw that the 1,000 line of a website was considered to be a quite big website. But slowly, we see the world of the web is changing, and we have applets and Ajax, and then we went to the single page application and web application and composite web application and the template binding, the concept of Angular. And we see the line of code becoming bigger and bigger of the client. And then we see a few years ago, Microsoft came up with this kind of a language, TypeScript. What is a TypeScript? TypeScript is actually a type-safe way to write JavaScript. Now, the funny story is why the team of Microsoft decided to build this language. Well, actually, they decided because that was the team that developed Visual Code IDE. Visual Code IDE is a JavaScript-based IDE. And what they realized that they invest 70% of their time just to understand the code that they wrote. And then they say, okay, it's not scalable. It doesn't make sense. We cannot work this way. We cannot push forward because we only get back going backwards. So they invited the TypeScript. Actually, the person that invented TypeScript is the same person that invented C#. And then we see frameworks like Angular, like React, like Vue are coming to the market and being adopted by a lot of developers and a lot of organizations. And the same concept is going behind all those frameworks. The idea is how to make life easier for developers, for developing, to make deliverables easier, to make code much more maintainable. And you know what? Hey, this is what we're doing for the last 35 years. So the same paradigm, the same concept, the same vision that we always have, now we can actually be part of the main trend that is running in the market. And this is what we aim to give, and this is what we are focusing in our deliverables. So let's talk about a little bit about what we have. First, we took what we have already today. We took our N-tier technology and deployment mechanism that we have today, which is part of the RIA, part of the mobile, where you have a client that is communicating with a web server, that is communicating with our INDG, the in-memory data grid, and communicating with the magic server that goes to the database and bring back answers. This is an amazing technology and great and very stable technology, but the disadvantage that we need to have install prerequisite of our own runtime and our own code on these devices. The beauty of the new solution is that, again, it's a pure Angular JavaScript based application. There is no need to install anything on the device itself. The only thing that we have is a few set of JavaScript that are being downloaded as you launch your application, and that's it, just like, again, any standard Angular application. In order to support this technology, what we do? Well, we added to our studio another task under the name of web client type. This task is actually similar to the RIA and based on the RIA task. And when I say based on the RIA task, that means that the development methodology is the same. No record main logic, no physical transaction, no physical locking, etc. Full separation between client side and server side. Okay, so those of you who knows how to develop in RIA, this would be very easy for you to grasp and to understand, because really it's the same concept. Another important decision that we took at the beginning of this process is that our studio will not be the place where you design your UI and UX. That means that all the look and feel and all the visualization of your screen will be designed as a standard web application in the standard web tools and not inside of the magic tools. Bigger company, richer company than us try to do that and fail. Okay, you can see today nobody is developing HTML pages inside the Visual Studio. Okay, this is actually everything is being done outside in tools that are a standard tool for the industry. Now, on top of that, we build the Magic Converter. Now, what is the Magic Converter? The Magic Converter is the one that takes all the form declaration or the form data binding and data events and event binding that we have, and generate an Angular application and an Angular component based off this code. So this is something that you run, and it's immediately creating your Angular project. And this is ongoing. You can create a new task in Magic, just click a button, you'll have a new component inside your Angular project. Now, the idea behind this tool is two things. First is to give you, the Magic developer, the option of testing the functionality of your application without writing one line of code of HTML or CSS or Angular. That means that our generator will create a fully working application, and this application, you can run it immediately and test all functionality. But keep in mind, it's like the concept of Control G. The application can look nicer or less nice, but it's not a functional application that I expect you guys to put in production. Okay, this application will need to go through a web designer, and slowly, I imagine that we'll bring other templates and other options for us to make these screens nicer. But again, we will never aim to bring this one as a fully workable application. But this layer is customizable. That means that it's a set of template language that you guys can take and change and enhance. Okay, for example, if I'll take a date control, we decided to implement date control and date picker by some kind of a code. But you can decide to work with a different component for date picker. And then you can go and change it in this template tool. And then from that moment, anytime that you'll generate your code in your environment, it will generate it with this template. Okay, so you can actually push it to the limit and bring it much closer to the way you would like to do it. Okay. Now, once we have the Angular application, we need to go to the web design. And the web design, as I mentioned, is being done outside of the Magic Studio. Yes, to do web design, you need to understand this world and you need to know it. Okay. Now, I don't expect a Magic developer that does not know anything about HTML or CSS to be able to fully develop a Magic Web Angular application to deliver. So it's either you need to learn this new world or you can work as two teams. We definitely designed the tool in a way that you can, as a Magic developer, build all functionality and bring it into an Angular web application that is working. And for external web developer, front-end developer, web designer to step into the picture and do all the changes and move everything. And I'll show it to you in a demo in a few seconds, in a few minutes. So what did we do in our client? We needed to provide actually all our client functionality inside the browser. So if we look at our Magic server that we communicate via the internet and communicate on a browser, inside the browser, what we will have is a set of super JavaScript that are generic for all our customer, which this is the Magic Engine. On top of that, we'll put another layer of Angular API, which is another part of our engine, but we split the two. Now, why did we split it? Because we definitely anticipate that in the future, we will have an API for React, as I mentioned, and API for Vue, or for any other framework that will come in a year or two to the market and will be adopted by the community. So this is the reason why we split those two layers, but those two layers are generic to all the customers that will use it. On top of that, we generate the Magic component or the Angular component from the Magic code. And this is already your own code. And here you start changing the code and enhancing the code and moving the code, and etc. Okay. But all in all that is running inside the client as a standard Angular JavaScript application. The idea and the vision is really to develop an amazing look and feel application, fully responsive, standard web application that, again, nothing is different than anything that any advanced web developer will do, including drill down, one-to-many relationship, subform, and all the things that we know and love from within Magic, you can do and you have the option to do quite easily from the Magic solution. Now, all those PowerPoint slides are amazing, great, but I think it's about time that we'll see a little bit of a working demo. So first, let's see that my browser is actually presenting this application. Let's refresh it. And yep, it is working. This is great. Okay, so what we can see is that I have my top menu here and I have a bunch of cards that represent travels, and I can click here and go and do edit and then drill down and look at the different records. and then go back to my packages and look for another thing, for instance, this trip to LA, okay? And as I mentioned, all the information is being changed based on what I see on the left record. And again, it's fully responsive. So if I'll take it here and I'll move it from here to here, you see that things are being smaller. I can play with the mode of the desktop style, and everything is fully responsive, just the way the designer planned it. Now, in order to have this nice application, I need to have my Magic application. So let's go to my Magic application and see what I have. Inside my Magic application, I have a few folders, okay? And inside my travel folder, I have my travel main form. This travel main form, okay, actually contain some data view, some logic, and a form. Now, if I go into the Magic form, I will see that I have a subform, a few controls, and again, the way it looks here has nothing to do with the way it looks on my browser. Now, if I look here in my document outline, which is another feature that we added in version 3.1, I think so, but this is now coming very into place. Why? Because I can see the structure of my controls and the relationship. I can see that I have my main canvas. This is the control name of the subform, and I have my group control. And inside my group control, I have a few buttons and an image of the Magic Add and this text. Now, if I'll go into my screen, I'll see this again, this text, the subform that contains those cards, and the top layer with the group and the different buttons. Now let's go and see what I have in my Angular application. If I'll go into my Angular application, I can see my Angular project. Inside my Angular project, I have a few files, the definitions of the project, and the important one is the Angular JSON and the package JSON. And then the project of Angulars contain source folder, which in the source folder, I can see the same index HTML that we talked about before. And then I can see my app. And inside my app, I have my Magic folder. This Magic folder actually represents my Magic application. Inside, I have two supporting files that I need to connect to the Magic. And then I see my folder structure from within my project. Okay, if we remember, if I'll step out again to the program repository, it's the same folder structure that I have here. And inside here, if I'll go to this folder, I find the two programs. And inside, I will find my form definition that is actually now my Angular component. Inside my Angular component, I can look at my TypeScript screen, which contains the task-based Magic component. This is the way we connect to the Magic environment. We have some Magic providers, and we have some other connectors that connecting us. And then I have my HTML. And if I'll go now into my HTML, we can see how this HTML looks and what it contains in order to generate the screen. So I can see here that I have my background to my page, and this is going actually to my asset and taking this amazing mountain view background. And then I can look at my menu here. You can see the top menu with the different color and with the different options. Now this menu is connected to the Magic menu group. And inside, I can see, for instance, my main home. Main home, it's an image that is connected to the Magic directive of main home. Okay, and this is the control name. And it's get this source information from mg get image of this control. Now, this is the only thing that I need, for instance, to connect an image from Magic. If I'll go back to my Magic code and I'll look at my screen and I'll go to my image, which is this image, the main home, you can see that this is my control name, and you can see that my source is actually this expression that is giving me, let me just bring my screen here, that is giving me the information from this a variable plus this name, and this what will be rendered in my Angular project based on this small expression, and we have tons of different expressions that are relevant for different controls. Now, if you look at this nice thing, when I click here, I have my edit button here that is taking me to this event. Okay. Now, this edit button and this image, for instance, sorry, the package and the image, I can press on any of them and go back to the list of packages. So I can click here on my picture and go to this screen. Now here, what we can see, I only have an image, okay? But the beauty, that image knows how to get a click event in the browser. And in my magic, I can actually see that in my logic, I have a click event. Where is my event click? On main home. This is the image control. And what it do is do raise event of packages, okay? So again, I'm handling the event and doing the process as I used to do in Magic. I don't need to do anything special in the Angular. I just need to bind it and connect it by this Magic directive. Now, if we look at the packages, the B packages or this click, they are both doing the same thing. And you can see here that I actually have an A tag, even though it's in Magic, it's a button. But again, an A tag knows how to get the click and also knows to change the UI, the cursor based on this reference. And when I press the click on this button, what will actually happen is as if I press the click on this button in what you know to do today in Magic. Then I have a user event that raises the packages event, and the packages event has this handler that is actually doing the race event of GoToManager, and this manager is calling other logic that at the end of the day is calling this program, the travel request, okay, and sending it in this destination or running it in this destination, okay. This is what giving me the single page experience, the fact that I keep on changing everything in this main form, or what they call in the Angular world in the route outlet. Okay, so everything is being rendered in this site, and of course I can have a few of those. I don't have to have only one. So let's go to this program and see what is this program doing. Now, this program is the one that actually presenting the cards inside my area of painting the screen, my main canvas. Now, obviously, I see it as cards, but in Magic, we don't have cards. In Magic, we only have table, okay? What I can see here, that this program already has a main table. Obviously, this program is of the type of web client, and I'm doing a few links to other tables. I have some logic, and again, I have my form. And in my form, I already have a table control inside, and I can see that I have my add plus image, and then a table with one column and a set of controls inside this column. I have the buttons of the BEdit that we saw before, and another set of images. Now, let's start seeing what we have in the Angular and for providing this nice functionality. So we'll go now to the second component here, which is my travel request. Let's close this one. Let's make it a bit bigger, and let's go up. So we can start from here. As you see, all this block of this page is under one class, which take the name of cards wrapper. Now, this is not something that coming from Magic. This is something that the web developer, the web designer did in order to generate those nice cards. And this is the basic. You need to do card wrapper. Now, on top of that, now what we want to do is we wanted to have the add card. Now, look at the add card. This is something nice because what I have here is actually another record in my data set, but it's actually not a record, okay? Because I don't have this record in Magic, it's part of the data set. I can do in the HTML, just put it as a standalone, but it will still be part of my screen, part of my UI, okay? So it doesn't have to be part of my data view, it can be part of my screen. It's not only that it's part of my screen, I actually have a button here, okay, that is connected to the Magic, actually, add plus image. Now look again at the amazing decoupling that we have. This is a button in the HTML. This is an image in Magic. But at the end of the day, I don't care. They both know to get the click event. Now, if I'll go to the HTML, I'll click here. I'll get a warning from Magic that this handler was not handled, but I definitely went into the Magic and raised the event and handled the event and everything. And if I'll go to the Magic code, I see that I have this plus image, okay, which is with the name of add plus image, has nothing here to define, but if I go to my logic, I will see that I have click event on the add image, the add plus image that is doing raise event of add request. So again, a standard handler in Magic, click on a control. The control is actually an image, but the click event is being kept. Okay, so everything is working smoothly as far as that. Now, if I'll go forward and I'll say, okay, let's close this part of the add. And what I want to see now is my loop of records. So now I have ng4. Now ng4 is the way of Angular to do loop on a set of records or for a set of information. Now, what are we running on? What are we looping at? We're actually looping on task.records.list. This is actually the Magic Data View. Everything that you know and love about Magic Data View is relevant here. You can add records and it will be part of it. You can delete record. You can filter record with any expression of Magic that you are filtering records, and it will come into effect here. You can range it by a different user, whatever you want. Everything is legitimate here, including all the recompute and refresh that we have. So this is my set of records that represent all those 2, 4, 6, 7 records that are coming from the database. Now, I'm going to look at the card again that we have, okay? So I'm looking at the mat card, and inside the mat card, I have the label of the description text, okay? And the description text is actually the visit to Israel, contract signing in Bangkok, okay? And if I'll go to the Magic code, you can see that it's part of this one. This is actually the description text here, and it's connected to an expression, okay? That this expression is number 4 is taking a column, etc. Okay, but at the end of the day, I get the information inside my code here and connected by Magic description and another function of mg get text for this control name. Now we introduced another new thing. We introduced row ID. And what is this row.row ID? Since we are in a table now and we are in a loop, we want to get the relevant value for this relevant record. So whenever we are inside an ng4 loop of Magic, we will implement the row.row ID code in order to get the relevant record. Now we look at the edit that I mentioned before. You see the edit that I press is doing the edit event and sending me into edit this specific record. And if I look inside my code, I see that I have this be edit button that is raising the event of edit packages entries, and it's in the same layout or in the same level of all the others control. But in the HTML, it's actually not. It's actually being hidden underneath another submenu. Now, again, the beautiful of the decoupling between the UI and the UX and the logic of Magic allows me to do whatever I want in the UI. At the end of the day, what I'm looking at is for this be edit control. Now, if I look at my HTML, I'll see that I have another class here, which is the menu wrapper. And inside the menu wrapper, it's part of material design. I can see the mat icon, more var. This is actually the one that's causing those 3 dots to appear. Okay, and then I have the menu. And inside, I have a button, okay, of Magic that is connected to the Magic directive under the name of be edit connected to this control name. And again, I need to say this row ID. Why? Because I want to make sure that when I click on this line, I'll go to the edit of the branch opening in Sydney. And when I click on this one, I'll go actually to the one in LA. Okay. So I need to be relevant to each record that I'm positioning myself. Another nice things that we can see here. Okay, let's see some other exciting things. For instance, look at my logos here. Okay, I see that in this trip, I have flights information, I have hotel information, and I have restaurant information. Here I have only hotel flights and hotels, and here I have flights and cars. Now we all know as magicians that if I wanted to do this in a RIA or in an online screen, just to make those icons park next to each other, regardless of what record of what value I have, I would go crazy. It would either play with the position expression or put them on some kind of a dynamic names, picture 1, picture 2, picture 3, and based on this logic, put the value for each picture, etc. Well, obviously, when we go to the web, it's quite easy. If I look in my magic code, I'll see that in my car image, for instance, I have a visible expression. Now, this visible expression, okay, is going actually to the link success, link indicator for the cars. If you remember, we talked about the fact that here I have a few links. So I have links to a car, I have links to hotels, to restaurants, and to airlines, okay? And based on each link success, I have the presentation or the visibility of each of those images. Now, the only thing that I need to do now inside my HTML code is actually go to, where is my car? Sorry, here. Okay, so I have hotel information and I have car information. And then I have the connectivity to the magic binding, magic directive. I have the raw ID and I have style.display equals mg get visible of this control for this record. Okay, that's it. If it's not visible, I will not see it, and that's it. And HTML will take care of everything else. That will just put them one next to each other. So as far as UI and UX, we're getting much better experience inside the browser. As far as writing this code, by the logic that we bring from the application, we make it very easy to maintain it and to deliver it inside an Angular project. I think this is quite intensive information going into the code itself and the samples that we did. There are tons of information there. There are tons of features, and we are only at the beginning, as I mentioned. But now it's about time to go back to our presentation. So it is all great and nice, okay? And developing new solution, it will be amazing, and it will only go and get better and better. But we all know that we have existing applications, and we need, and in some cases, we would like to migrate them, at least, if not everything, at least part of the solution. And this is something that that it's going to be a challenge. Sorry to say, there is not going to be straightforward 100% automatic process that you put your code in one end, get a fully amazing Angular application on the other side. So we are trying to automate as much as possible and to deliver some tools, for instance, even just to improve the record main converter tool to ease the process wherever we can. We will provide a lot of documentation and how-tos and tutorials and even some code analysis tool that you'll be able to look at your application and examine and understand what needs to be done. But again, it's work in progress and it will get better in time, but the challenge is quite big. In order to face this challenge internally and for you guys, we built a delivery team in India that are going to get and be experts in developing project and doing migrations to the new web application style. Now, the idea really about this team is an enabler team. We want to have this team that we can, in a reasonable cost, okay, provide to you guys services. And again, it's not a selling pitch. The idea is really to be an enabler. Okay, we want to have an expert team that can help all of you guys to move to the new technology. We are working with third partners, with outside parties for migration. Some of them known, some of them are new to our community, but we want to bring experts that can actually help in the process and make life easier and better in the challenge of migrating an application. Obviously, migrating from RIA is going to be easier than migrating into full client, but the process of migration will need to go from client server, standard client server, first to the concept of RIA. It doesn't have to be fully RIA, but first step is the concept of RIA, and then go to the web. When we do migration to RIA, there are challenges of logic that is being changed, separation between server side and client side, that when we worked in client server, there was actually no server side. And once we finished all the issue with locking and deferred transaction, we will need to go to the web, where the biggest challenge in the web is what we call windowing, is the way we present information. Again, we are moving to a single page application concept, as opposed to multi-screens that you open screen on top of another screen, on top of another screen, etc. This is not relevant anymore in the web development. So we will try and provide as much as we can there, and it's in our interest that many of you will go into the new technology, but the challenge is there. I know question will come up, and we'll go soon to a Q&A session, but a business model, we finalizing in the next 2 days our business model fully, and the idea is really to make business model as easy as possible. Okay, not to count users or something like that, but to make it easier, like working per server, per site. We will charge for what with the concept of runtime, nothing to do. We cannot do anything else. This is our business model, but we're going to have attractive pricing for that. Again, we want to make sure that this tool is being adopted by everybody, and you guys, as long-time customer, can take it and run forward with that. As I mentioned, we're finalizing it this week, and by next week you'll be able to contact your local representative and discuss about pricing and what we can do to ease your move to the new technology. Another important thing is training. Okay, as I mentioned before, we're stepping into a new world. Really, 30 years ago, when I started to develop in Magic version 3, you know, I didn't know anything else about computer. I only knew Magic and basically the command of copy or something. But other than that, Magic gave everything to me. Now, let me tell you something, the world just got much more complicated. We cannot provide everything out of the Magic box. You need to know other technology. You need to know the web technology, the HTML, the CSS, which is, you know, it's crazy world of its own, the world of CSS. And a little bit the Angular. You don't need to be an expert in Angular, but you need to be familiar. You need to understand what is an ngFor, what is an ngIf, etc. Okay. So we know that you have a lot of learning to do, and we will try to provide as much as we can information. The beauty of it, that all the new things that are new for us magician are existing out there for a long time, and there is tons of materials that you can learn and get the knowledge, and we will point you to this information as well. What we are going to deliver this week together with the version is we're going to put a new developer website. And the idea behind the developer website is actually knowledge sharing. We will have tons of how-tos, demos, code samples, code snippet, videos, documentation. Really, we are working with the concept of a website first. That means that anything that, any new sample that we have, once we have it, you will have it on the website. in the setup of Magic, you will get it in the next release, which can be a few weeks or a few months even. Okay, but the website will be updated almost on a daily basis with more content, more demos, more features, and stuff like that. And hopefully in the future, we will also be able to add your code and your samples so you can enrich this world and enrich the samples and enrich the ideas so we can all share and benefit out of it. Another thing that we're looking to do, and it will be based on each territory with the capability of each territory, but it's doing a half day of hands-on training. In some places, we'll do it in the Magic Office. In some places, we'll do it in somewhere else, or we'll do it over the web. But the idea is, after you do a first session of training on your own on the new world of getting started in Angular or stuff like that, we would like to provide a half a day of hands-on training on the Magic Web just to make sure that everybody is working on. So it will be small groups, 5 to 10 people max. If it's frontal, if it's going to be a web, maybe even less. But the idea is really to make sure that if you have question, you have somebody who would answer, and not to go to via support just to learn the new technology. In the last year, we were working with an Angular guru in Israel, which is considered to be the top person of Angular in Israel, or one of the top people of Angular in Israel. And he is really amazing. He really helped our R&D team to deliver all this amazing functionality, and we are continue working with him. But he is also one of the leading trainer in Israel around Angular, and he built a special training course for Angular for Magician based on the technology that we deliver in Magic and based on the Angular knowledge that needs to be there. It's a 4-day training. For now, we're running it inside the territory of Israel, but we're looking to wrap it up into some kind of a deliverable and be able to do some kind of a roadshow and training around the world. Again, it's an outside resource. It's not part of the Magic offering, but we are working together, and it will be something that I think important for all of you, either with this guy or with other people that can come into the market and do training, but really have the knowledge of this new world that we're stepping into. Now it's time for me to have a drink of water, and for you guys to put on your question if you haven't put them before. I'll launch them on my screen, and I really try and do my best to answer all the questions that you have. So please, you have the option in the chat to put any question, any thoughts, any idea, any feedback that you want, and I'll try and go over it and give all the answers as far as I can give. So let's see, beside of the highs and the hellos, what do we have? Okay, so we have the what tools will be available with Magic XPA toolset to ease the migration. First version that is coming next week, we will not have any extra tool on that. Again, it's not realistic to build the tools before we have the final stable version. We are now working on the idea of those tools, but at the moment I cannot provide any other tools or beside what we have today. What browser compatibility is there? Well, again, the amazing and the beautiful thing, it's a native Angular application. Angular support all browsers. That means that our solution will also work on all browsers. Now, Angular, to support the different browser, has this technology of what they call polyfills. And the polyfills is the one that set the different compatibility for all the different browsers. Okay, we will have a document of how to, in our documentation, of how to support different browser. My recommendation, again, since in Google technology, to work with Chrome, this is what we do. And first, everything must work on the Chrome browser, and then support other browser. But the best environment for developers would be the Chrome. Will Developer Studio be for free? Yes, for the one that are under maintenance. No, for the rest, it's not changing our policy. Which version of Angular supported? We're coming out with version 6 now. So we are running with almost the latest version, because 6.1 just was released on Saturday, I think. Okay, like 4 days ago. And quite fast we'll deliver on 6.1, but the idea is to really run fast with all the different versions of Angular. Can we receive a recording of this presentation? Of course, everything, this webinar will be also available as a video for all of you. Does Magic provide some sort of wrapper app to deploy the apps to the store? Well, first, we're not talking about mobile, so there is no store. Okay, it's a web application. Okay, and if you want to deliver your Angular application to the store, you can do it with other technology. You don't need Magic for that. Going forward, I think, and it's not something they fix now, but using our mobile technology, we'll probably do some combination of a wrapper between the mobile technology and the web technology. But it's too early. We are focusing first on delivering a amazing bulletproof technology for the web client, and only after that move to the connectivity between our mobile and our web developer. From is to keep existing customer or developer new. Not sure I understand the question, but I think if I understand correctly, if it's focusing on getting new customer or existing customer, well, obviously, as always, first we're trying to give you or our existing customer the amazing and the good solutions. If we'll get new customer on the path, it will be great. We're definitely looking how to get more and more customers. We know it was a challenge. We also have a few ideas and some thought going forwards around that, but the focus is first to give the existing community the technology of the web and to be able to deliver web application. What limitation do we have when comparing web client and RIA client? Like, is there a mechanism in place to deal with caching of record? Okay, so yeah, it's a good question, like the RIA and the web. Okay, so obviously the clear differentiation between the RIA and the web is the fact that in RIA we can work offline, web you cannot work offline. RIA we can go to local resources, and the web you are limited, you cannot go to local resources. Okay, other than that, I think most of us will go into the web development and not to the RIA, just because of the richness of what can be delivered there. But again, it depends on each case. I assume that once we have this technology up and running, most of the applications that are relevant for distributed application will go into the web and not to the RIA. Is there a mechanism in place to deal with caching of records? Yeah, definitely. We're using the native caching of the browser. That means that you can run, you can query 1 million records table, okay, and you'll get it quite immediately. And we have pagination, and we have chunks, and we have everything that is coming. As far as keeping live cache, we are not doing anything special for the cache. We're just using the browser cache as in any standard application. What is it? Hi. something that is not so clear to us is once we write the code in XPA4 and generate the Angular code, we need some XPA engine to run the solution application. No, you need the XPA server, okay? Obviously, everything is working against a Magic server, okay? Some logic will run inside the client, but some logic will also run on the server. And like in RIA that you have the client and the server side that goes together, okay? And you definitely need the Magic server that is serving this application. Magic native JSON support. Yep, good question. It has nothing to do with the new web client, but it's definitely something that is on the table. I don't know in what service pack or in what version we're planning to give it. It might be even part of one of the version of 3. We definitely need to address this issue. But again, we're not using JSONs in the web client technology, and you don't need to communicate via JSON. But JSON support is something that we should definitely add, and it's on our table. When will the evaluation license for Studio be available? With the version that you will install, you'll have a license until end of August for all of you. It's part of the installation. So you have license for the studio and for the runtime. This is just what I answer. Is there a free demo version? So until end of August. And if you need more, you can communicate your local representative and get whatever you need. Create list of best practices for current client server application to make going to the web easier. I'm not sure I fully understand the question, but if you're talking about providing the option of best practices of what needs to be done in order to go to the web, yeah, we'll definitely have as our how-tos and documentation and everything. This is what I mentioned, that we'll try and do anything that we can in order to make life easier for the migration. Time frame for React. Ooh. Don't know. Depends. In one way, it's not a huge challenge because the code, the API layer is not that big. On the other hand, it's a full set of other expertise that we need, and I imagine that unless the market will really push hard, it will not happen in 2019. Okay, but it depends. But again, most of the customers that we see, most of the organization are looking to develop in Angular and not in React. What are the pros and cons of mobile vs web dev for mobile devices? Mainly, I think, again, it's similar to what I said about the RIA, the offline capability and the option of running a local storage or local database that we have now in RIA in mobile, and we don't support in the browser or in the web client. But it's mainly that. Okay. Other than that, from UI, I think UI will be easier to do in the new web technology. By the way, guys, the fight between native code and HTML, JavaScript code was won. Okay, I mean there are some things that are being developed by native code and on the mobile, but let's face it, most of the application out there, definitely business application, are Angular based, JavaScript, etc., and HTML5 and not native. Do we need the web client license to host a Magic Web app? If yes, can we get eval license to test it first? Yeah, first you can always get eval license, and yes, we added a new license which is Magic Web license, and this is the license that will support a web client task. So you'll need a license for a web client task. Could you explain what are the Advantage of Magic XPA instead of using of directly .NET in the server and Angular in the client. Ooh, it's well. I think first, um, Magic on the server, okay, or Magic full hand is developing logic of your application that is part of it client, part of it server, but it's developing much faster, much easier to maintain, okay, and it's one bundled environment that you develop your end-to-end. Let's take this example, okay, the example of a combo box, for instance, okay. If you want to have options in your application and you want to have a combo box in your Angular application, and if you develop it in C# or even Node.js on the server and Angular on the client, you will need to provide API to get the information. You will need to validate the API of entering different information to this choice control. And in the client side, you will need to define what values are relevant there, okay? And you need to do it in each place that you put this combo box, etc. Now, if you decide you want to do this information dynamic for a specific set of records, you have these values, and for the specific set of records, you have that values, and you also want to do the validation, you will need to do the validation on the server side, you will need to do the logic of the client side, or you will need to call a service that is only getting you the values that are relevant for this combo box, for this specific scenario, etc., etc., etc. And there's two pieces of code that needs to be developed and to be synced, because if I added another function or another value to this combo box, I need to do it on the server side and I need to do it on the client side, and they need to be synced, etc. Now, if we look at the Magic solution, in the Magic solution, the only thing that you do for a combo box in the Angular part, you do mg get options, and then you get all the different options that Magic allow for this combo box. And in Magic, to define option for a combo box, you have a few ways, but it's very easy because it's the Magic way. Either put it on the control itself, on the form, connected to an expression that give you comma separated value, do a link to a table that is bringing you the values, etc. But at the end of the day, you will have the server side and you'll have the client side. There will be sync. Anything that you'll change, all the recompute, all the value changes, everything is there. Okay, so really, we expect to write full Angular application much faster. Now, just to understand to grasp the concept there, when we talk about a big Angular application, we're talking about something like 1,000 screens, okay? Now, all of us as experienced magicians know that 1,000 screens for a Magic application is something that you don't even write home about, okay? It's a very small application, it's a basic application. But this is the idea that the world is now going into a trend that we're going to have huge web application, and this is what we expect to be able to deliver in Magic in the same ease, or at least much easier than you do with any other technology. When will XPA for single user be available? Not in the next few months, but again, you can just take the standard version and get an EVA license, because the single user will not support running it. It will just be studio-wise and testing. Okay, so you can just get an EVA license and that's it. Can control buttons, edit checkbox be disabled based upon user rights? Of course. Anything that you can do today with the control, all the properties that you know for the control, okay, will still come into place and will be recomputed and everything. So rights, any other functions, everything is relevant and working. The IDE is perhaps not catching, so if changes are made to things like index.html, the browser will get the update version. Ooh, I'm not sure I'm following you. The idea is that perhaps not caching is again the index HTML is just setting files basically that is launching the application, not more than that. Other than that, I'm not really clear on the question. So, Hani, if you can give another try, I'll be happy. Local gateway will work on web client. As I mentioned, no, we don't have local capabilities out of the box. We will have it in the future, but for now, we're not supporting local storage as Magic functionality. Just to be clear, if we are going continue to use RIA, we will have to stay on version. Any version 4 development would be web only. For now, yeah. The idea is that we have all the functionality of RIA, of course, in version 4 as well. We did not limit anything. But if tomorrow we'll do a big bug fix, sorry, for RIA, we will definitely do it in version 3. We are not committed to do it in the same time frame in version 4. It will be at the end in version 4, but it might take a few more months. Okay, so if your live environment and production environment is version 3, there is no reason for you, if you're not looking to the web technology, to move to version 4. Magic Server is Windows only? No, not only Windows. Obviously, we support Linux and IIX for a long time. And now we even have a Magic XPA4 on Dockers. Okay, and we will provide how-tos and samples, again, how to implement Dockers running web application. GPS camera function will work on web client, not the Magic ones. Okay, at the moment we are not doing anything special for the web client for mobile. Okay, so you can do any code that you have today in Angular, which there is tons of code, just basic Angular functionality to communicate with GPS and camera. Okay, but the Magic functions will not work. And then you can get the information from there and connect it to the Magic task. Okay, but again, life will be much easier in the Angular world to communicate with everything and get it into Magic. Can XPA3 and XPA4 exist in one physical server? Yeah, you know, that's the amazing part. Also, Magic version 3 and Magic XPA4 can work on the same machine. You can put all the different versions of Magic on the same machine and it will work. We will be able to open project and execute solution made in version 3 with, yeah, of course, just open the version 3 and that's it. But of course, then you cannot go back to version 3. So if it's a code that you want to still maintain in version 3, please duplicate the code. Will you notify in any way when the new developer page yeah, definitely. We would broadcast it. We will send you guys all emails. We are fighting to have it ready by the end of the week. And this is the idea, to have it together with the version, even if it will be just a few pages, and then day by day add new pages. But the idea that even the first page with the introduction and the point to training materials and the stuff will be there before the weekend. Are you planning to add support for calling containers in the Magic engine? I just think this is just what I answered, that we already now have Magic 4 running on Dockers. And I think this is what you meant with the container. Okay, the idea is to be able to, instead of installing Magic Server, you can just launch Magic Container that provide a specific application, one or more, and this container you can launch again and again and again, and you can communicate with this container, and he will run as a Magic Server. Obviously, you will need to take care of database connectivity, etc. But as far as the Magic engine, and the idea will be to run an engine basically in containers. Okay, guys, it looks like we have no other questions. So I'll have another sip of water and give you another 2 minutes to add any other questions if you have. Is migration of current apps from 3 to 4 straightforward? Not the way. Yeah, as I mentioned, you just open the version 3 and it's running. Manuel, I think I just answered on the GPS and the camera. In client server, a record is committed when any keyboard input is sensed. Will that be the same in the web client? Well, sorry, first I have to correct you. The record is not committed on any keystroke. The record is committed in what we call the record suffix. It's once the record suffix is finished, this is the only time that the record is actually going to the database and being saved. And this would be the same. Okay, so the idea is whenever you go to record suffix. Better question, the record suffix is executed when changes are sensed. Yeah, of course. This is the same. When your data view is being changed, the minute that you'll navigate to a new record, the record suffix will be executed. The flow and the cycle of magic is being kept. And there are obviously some challenges between the UI, etc. But the idea that we make sure that we do not break the logic of magic. Okay. Of course, if you go to your own component, do whatever you want, and stepping out of magic, we have no control on that. But the minute that you'll get back to the magic area, the magic logic will continue and the magic engine will continue working. And if you have errors or if you have duplicate keys or something like that, you will go back to some as much as we can to the previous position, as long as this position was part of the magic position, etc. But we are not breaking the rules of magic, and everything in the logic is being kept there. Hey guys, I really think it is exciting new not feature. It's like a new tool almost. Okay, and there are tons of other exciting things that are coming in our future. It's like we feel like we managed to break the wall that kind of stop us from moving forward, that we were stuck for quite a long time. We tried with mobile, we tried with RIA, but again, doesn't really matter what didn't work, but it did not work as we expected or as we would like to. But really now we are turned down the wall, and we have a new playground to play at. Yes, we're at the beginning of the playground. We're only starting to scratch the surface. Okay, but we are in. We are stepped into the new playground, and we can play on. What else do we have? Again, the no. Keep coming the same questions for some reason. It seems like the developer's workflow is a lot like an HTML merge app. I didn't get the significance of web client forms. What purpose do they serve? Is Magic Server here anything more than a backend technology with eventual glue? No, so kind of either I really missed my explanation or something got lost there. Okay, when you do output merge, there is nothing in the client. Magic do not know the client. Okay, here you have a full client-side functionality. If I'll do x equal 2 plus 3 in Magic, then it will be calculated. Okay, so you can write tons of logic that is client-side logic within Magic. Okay, so this is one huge difference. The other thing is data binding and event binding. Okay, we're not going through the event of the browser or anything. You just do a click on a control inside the browser that is connected to a Magic directive. There is a full logic that is bringing this event into the Magic either client or server, depends on where you handle this event. So there is tons of differences. It's even so different that migration from a merge will be probably the most complicated migration, because merge is batch oriented and this is online or RIA oriented. Okay, so there are totally different technologies. We are currently in development phase to support mobile device for our app. Would it be better to go the web application route for those than mobile app? Oh, hard one. If you are working on a mobile app based on the Magic technology and you have the knowledge already, you have the UI that you want, and you take advantage of the local storage and the offline working, then I would say stay with the existing Magic. If you are looking to develop it not in Magic, but in some kind of other mobile tools that are web development tools, then yeah, our web client can give you a lot of benefits. But it's an hard one. I think it's better to talk to the local team, contact us, let us know, let's take it offline and see what you're facing there, and we'll give you the best way of going forward. I don't know if I mentioned before or not, but we kind of put a SWAT team that I'm leading in order to handle all this go-to-market of the web client. And we're doing it hands-on. We are working together with customers, with early adopters, with customers that has a specific urgent need. Okay, so get in touch with us, let us know, pull us into your loop, and let's work together and see what is the best offering that we as Magic can give you in order to have your business running forward. So Angular is an important component to gain experience within the new Magic XPA playground. Not changing. How about migration of current user licenses? Yeah, this is first, yes, Angular is a big part of our world. Okay, and this will be part of the training. You can even, for my, if I can give you first suggestion, please go into the Angular website, angular.io, do the getting started, and then there is Tour of Heroes tutorial, and this would be the best just to get familiar with the environment. As far as license swapping, etc., this is part of the business already, and you can talk with the local representative. They'll have all the answers next week, but we will find the balance of depending on your business model and then your needs, how to make the transition easier for you guys. How about migration of current user licenses? This is what I mentioned now. What is it? It is with, what do you mean it is with Magic 3.3? Oh, this, you're going back to keep in mind that I'm seeing questions one after another. I don't, they're not always coming together. So you're talking about your mobile application. Yeah, I think the best bet will be to continue the mobile. Again, depends on the side, but on the size. But let's really take it offline. Send me an email and let's talk about it and see what you have. How many current React clients? How many web client customer currently working in beta? How many do you participate for the coming years? I'm not sure I'm following this question, but I'm participating for the coming years, hundreds market expectation. You know, now the revenue of Magic was last year 200 and yeah, $250 million. We are looking to increase the number dramatically. But other than that, you know. Okay, guys, I think slowly number are dropping down. We're now to 92 of you, which we're hit the somewhere like 140, I think 130 people. So I think it's about time to call it a day, at least for me, since now it's exactly 9:30 p.m. for me. As I mentioned, it is exciting. It is new technology. I urge you to play with it. I urge you to get in contact with us. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you feel. And let us know where we can make your life easier and better and make a success for all of us. So thank you for now and hope to hear from all of you soon. Thanks. Bye bye.